Sorry, I've been away in Fiji for the past 5 days. I wasn't looking at the net at all, and then all of a sudden, you've got a new Prime Minister. I found it about 2 hours ago. I'm blurry-eyed. Where am I? I think I'm in Melbourne. But I'm in a really crap motel, and all I can see outside my wall is this 1984 dystopic wall that says D45 So anyway, the point is, I found out that Scott Morrison is the new Prime Minister, so I'm just doing this quick run through because I just checked Twitter and then it's just a bunch of people like that movie, The Poltergeist, going, "What's happening?" And the answer is nothing. In fact, this is what's so interesting about all of this. Canberra does not operate in the way that the media tells you that it operates. So, for example, it was Bill Shorten, when he was first sworn in, I think in 2007, when he said to one of his colleagues that in the 2016 election, or the 2013, so a little bit of wiggle room there, 3 years, give or take, but give the guy a break. This is an amazing prediction. He said that he would be running as for Prime Minister against Malcolm Turnbull. How many years was that? Maybe 9? He saw that far into the future? Why is everyone so unimpressed with Bill Shorten? He's fucking Nostradamus. But this is the thing. Because the party machinations have been there for so long, they know how the electorate operates. They know what they think. They know the general psychology of the country. So they have a pretty accurate prediction of how things are going to play down. Now, obviously, there's a few spanners in the works here and there that do occur. So, for example, having 7 prime ministers in the last 10 years. Minor. And again, look, that actually is, let's not demean the importance of that, all right, with little asides. That is not that important, which is the whole point. And as a further side note, before we just go back into this, don't you just love how the mainstream media, as soon as it was the Labour Party that was having all of this disarray, this was their whole spin on the issue for years. First it was Rudd, then Gillard, then Rudd again. Who's going to be tomorrow? A pineapple? You just don't know with this government. It's chaos. It is what Jordan Peterson warned about us a few years in the future. It's just total madness. I don't know if I live in Australia anymore. Do I live in topsy-turvy land? I mean, numbers and chaos. They kept pushing that narrative over and over into the public's mind that if they can't govern themselves, can they govern a country? That was the aim. That was the entire spin that was being pushed by the mainstream media, because it obviously props up the party of big business, which is the Liberal Party, because mainstream media is run by big business. So what a coincidence. All these people that go, the media is so left-wing. It's nothing to do with left or right-wing. It's just that that party is run by big business. The mainstream media is run by big business. Do you think they're going to support the party that is supported by workers? That'd be pretty generous of them, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? So look, now, fast forward, if you were going to go down that stupid narrative that it mattered who was Prime Minister, which it doesn't, they're basically just a figurehead for their party, wouldn't you say that having 3 different Prime Ministers in the span of 6 years is a little more chaotic than having one, then the other, then the same one again? You had the same job before. So he's got some past experience, at least, on his resume. He's like working at Civic Video, then going to Spain for a couple of years, and then coming back, because he was the Foreign Affairs Minister. Do you get that? And then he just comes back, and he's got his job again at Civic Video. That's what happened. What is the... I'm whispering because, I'm in a motel, so I'm just waiting for 1 second of some mayor that's around here being like, hey, I'm trying to fuck a prostitute. But, and, sorry, man, just keep ploughing. That's your $200. But, yeah, the general theme, despite there being 3 prime ministers in the span of 6 years as opposed to 2 prime ministers in the span of 6 years, is, well, now that this is all behind us, we can get back to what really matters, which is the Australian people. That is the message that the mainstream media is pushing now. And people think that there's a bias towards the Labor Party in the mainstream media. I think not. So again, over and over, when people say, "Oh, I'm not voting for Bill Shorten because his head looks like it's a midget," well, very well, be that as it may, it does look like he is three midgets standing on top of each other in a trench coat trying to get into a dirty pig flick, right? He does look like that. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's all about the machinations of the party behind it. What does that party represent? Now, moving on to what just happened with ScoMo, as the cool people are calling it, in the best publication on earth, Junkie. In case you've never seen my videos before, I'm being extremely sarcastic. What a load of shit that is. But anyway, the point is, I'm being sarcastic, by the way. You have to explain sarcasm. What is this? Rick and Morty? Oh, get ready for all the hate in the comments from that. I love that show. Look, what has happened here, and this is what's incredible, going back to my point where Bill Shorten was able to call 7 years in advance at a minimum that he was going to be versing Malcolm Turnbull in a battle for the Prime Ministership. I've been talking to a few political insiders, so your staffers, people that work as campaigners. These people, after the 2016 election, were saying to me that the Liberal Party was preparing, I think it was about 3 months into their last election campaign cycle. So when they just won office, 3 months after that, it was something along the lines of that. It was really early into their term after 2016. These staffers and campaigners were telling me that the Liberal Party was preparing for opposition then. That's how foregone the psychology of these instances are. That, you can do what you can to manipulate the press, but there becomes a certain turning point in the psychology of a country where it doesn't matter. Now, it takes a lot to get to that point, which was, i.e. having Tony Abbott, which definitively was the most ineffective Prime Minister in the developed world, leader in the developed world. So, it took Australia a bit to get there, but we did. And they just scraped over the line by replacing the government with the more moderate-looking face of Malcolm Turnbull, which is all a Prime Minister is. It's just about the marketing of it. So, for instance, when it was Julia Gillard, why did they put her in? Because she's a woman, yay! And it's the same with Malcolm Turnbull. Why did they put him in instead of Tony Abbott? Because everyone was like, he's too harsh. He reminds me of the Christian dad that used to molest me. So they put in Malcolm Turnbull because he's got that very mild-mannered, suave. Am I a silver fox? There's a lot of debate amongst drunk 30-year-old women about that. It's about 50-50. Mild. But if you look at it, really what is he representing? Let's just go to it. There's a quick education process here for you, which is that there's the dries and the wets in the Liberal Party that used to exist, and then John Howard came in and changed the whole grassroots system, so he made it pretty much dries, which is just Conservatives versus moderates in the Liberal Party. It doesn't actually exist anymore. Malcolm Turnbull, I guess, would be a wet, but it's so ineffectual at this point because John Howard has permanently changed the Liberal Party to make it an extremely conservative party. But anyway, he was the face of the moderates in the Liberal Party. You know how there's just factions? The two major factions in the Liberal Party is dries and wets. Conservatives, moderates. Tony Abbott is obviously a dry. Peter Dutton is a dry. Scott Morrison is also a dry, but he's got this kind of halfway between Peter Dutton because he doesn't look like he's dead and Malcolm Turnbull. Basically, there's no real difference between them. It's just, at this point, it's just the wets like the idea of gay marriage. Ooh, and the dries don't. Oh my God. That makes so much matter, doesn't it? really like the day-to-day machinations of anything that actually matters. So infrastructure, climate change policy, all of these things, they might have different views on it, but essentially those factions are going to be moving towards the same goal because it's just a party that is controlled by big business, and whatever the big business owners, so say people in the mining industry, tell the Liberal Party to do, they just go yes, because they're not actually leaders. Nobody actually notices this. They're just the consultancy agency for these massive corporations. I'm sounding too much like Alex Jones. I'll probably get banned. But the point is, he is just that face, right? This is the same as Scott Morrison. All of these changes in faces is just a quick marketing ploy to get a quick peak in the polls, which is what they're going to do probably within the next 6 months, which is call a snap election, so that they're able to get a few seats back while there's still that sugar high of having a different Prime Minister in power before everyone realises, hang on a second, that's the same party. But it's got a different... hang on, I'm going to have to double check. Liberal, Scott Morrison, but that's not Malcolm Turnbull, but... No, it is the same. So before that happens, so they can reclaim a few seats, because at this point they're trailing the Labor Party by 10 points. They're just trying to claim back a few more seats. That is all this, election fiasco was about, because it was basically the Dries saying, we are definitely going to lose this next election. They knew that, again, really early after 2016, because they scraped by the skin of their teeth. So now it's just a decision of who of those two factions are they going to be leaning towards in terms of sandbagging seats? So whose seats are they going to try and save? Are they going to try and save Conservative seats? Are they going to try and make their party look like it's that real tough ass, no one's coming in, I don't even care even if they say I have an engineering degree and I'm currently drowning and I'm on the visa that we need more engineers in this country, I'll still say, nah, get in line like the rest of them. Are they going to go for that one, or are they just going to go for your Malcolm Turnbull one, which is just like, I just really like Lebanese food? Which of those? And I'm a member of an elite golf club, but that's beside the point. I'm down with, what are they called again? Peasants? What's the nice word for that? Commoners. Which of those two faces are they going to project? Because if they project to the Malcolm Turnbull face, they'd be appealing towards more of your urbane metropolitan seats. You're going into Telegraph country if you go for Peter Dutton. Which of those two were they going to go for? That was what the real battle was. That was what was sparking the leadership change. It wasn't about trying to reform government. They know that's not going to happen. It's just about which seats can they save, and what are they going to? What is the best face to project to the public? If they went for the Dries, they'd be going for the real core of the party. You know those people that say, like, Malcolm Turnbull was basically Bill Shorten. He's a Labor politician. He's just Labor. Are they going to try and save those people from going like, no, I'm going to be voting One Nation in the Conservative Party? Are they going to go for them, or are they going to go for those wets? The wets. They just appeal to those dickheads who think they're so enlightened because they're like, I'm a swing voter. So basically you just say you vote for whoever the press tells you to vote for. In a nutshell, yeah. But I have a job where I had to go to uni, a shit uni, and get like a pretty low mark in the ATAR. So sophisticated. Listens. So which of those two are they going to try and project? Now, what they've gone for is Scott Morrison. Is that in the centre of it because they're pussies and they don't know what to do at this point, and they're freaking out because it is going to be a much worse loss than what they were even predicting. But having said all of this, can I just go back to my original point, which is that when I was talking to these campaigners and staffers, they were saying to me, when they were saying that the Liberals were already preparing for opposition in the next term, that what they will do, and this is, I remember this like it was yesterday, they said that they will replace Malcolm Turnbull, quote, with Scott Morrison, which is what happened. This was 2 years ago. They will replace Malcolm Turnbull with Scott Morrison, and then they'll call a snap election, just as a show of good faith to the public that, yeah, we made a mistake, we're sorry about that, vote for us anyway if you're a loyalist. Don't make the landslide too big, because it'll be harder for us to regain office later on down the track. That's all that message basically boils down to. It's just, when everyone's just being like, is this going to change the direction of the nation? No. Every single opposition leader, when all of this, like, leadership chaos, they're the ones that actually call it the best when they say, it doesn't matter if Mickey Mouse is heading the government, it's going to be the same old Labor. It is. It's always going to be the same old Labor, it's going to be the same old Liberal. It's just Labor gets most of its money from unions. Unions get most of their money from workers. So they're going to represent workers' interests, aka the vast majority of the population. The Liberal Party gets most of its money from casinos, mining industry, things that are really bad for the environment and bad for your back pocket, because it's all just about how much money, what's the best way to save money. My girlfriend used to be a consultant. What do they say every time they bring in a consultancy firm to a place when they're just like, we're looking for a way to save more money? This is what they do. Best way to make more money would be to fire half your staff. Can I have $1 million? That's what they do. It's all about, when you're a huge corporation, the best way to save money is to just cut back on labour costs as much as possible, to get rid of things like penalty rates. That's what they represent. They represent multi-billionaires, and they represent multi-billion-dollar international corporations. That is their base. It doesn't matter who the face of that is. So for everybody that's sitting there just going, I just wish that they'd get back to work. They are at work. It doesn't, again, this is all just it's a sideshow. It is just a marketing ploy. What face are they going to represent to the public? Which one were they going for? So they went for Scott Morrison, who is just the most boring nothing, looks like a bulldog, terrible orator. Have you seen him in Parliament? I'm pretty sure that guy is the loud guy in that comic book of Dilbert, where he just, everything is, I just don't know, this is my only voice volume capacity, it's just yelling all the time. That's all he has. That's his only strategy in question time. There's no finesse to it. But anyway, that's the face that they're going to present to the public. Now, is he a wet, is he a dry? He's a dry. But he seems a little more mild than Peter Dutton. And so anyway, in conclusion, the big take home from this is, isn't it interesting how much the political machinery can predict what the public is going to be doing years down in the future? And so they think about this years in advance. Now, obviously, there's things that happen every now and then. So, for instance, John Howard thought that he was going out in 2001, but then September 11th happened, and then obviously he was able to get a second wind out of that. Random things do happen, but in general, you are really, really predictable. See you soon with a video about paying out Triple J. And if you're in Adelaide, come and see my show where I play Malcolm Turnbull, which is completely redundant. Nonetheless, I've got many, many shows to come and I'm booking more. But it's about his life, and it's before politics as well. It's not interesting, but what is interesting is me dressing up like a fop and going, ooh, on stage for an hour. $35. Come to the Adelaide show tomorrow.